With us on World Now. Well, today Americans the world over are celebrating the nation's 249th independence anniversary. And I have joining me for more on this conversation political analyst Somto Ike who joins us from Houston in Texas. Also joining me is partner Gainful Solutions, Stephen Hayes. Gentleman and lady, good to have you join us on World Now. Somto, you made a commitment on national TV to be invited today. Yes. Should the U.S. Congress meet up with President Trump's July 4th deadline to sign his one big, beautiful bill. But, before we get to that, let's talk about the nation's independence anniversary. And I'll start with you, Stephen. It's been 249 whole years. How are you celebrating today?
Well, I think today is going to be, if you're asking personally, it's going to be very low-key celebration with family, which is what a lot of people do on July 4th. I think that nationally, I think we're all looking at the bill that was just passed and trying to figure out what it means on July 4th, and also thinking about we're hoping that we have a good 250th anniversary. And this bill is going to affect that, I think.
All right, then let me hear how Somto is celebrating. You had mentioned you were to have a pool party today. How's the celebration going, Somto?
I don't know if you can see my dress, but I'm pool party ready. But because of you, I'm wearing a blazer right now, so I respect coming on television. But yes, I do have a pool party to go to.
All right, then. So 249 whole years. But, recent events have actually seen many question America's status. Yes, independent, but then talking about democracy, how much have they been able to manage people coming into the country, considering that the country itself was founded by, those you may call migrants themselves. Somto, if you would respond to that.
Yes, I am a migrant too. America is made of migrants. They are the natives, but America is predominantly made of migrants. If you trace Stephen's generations down many years ago, I'm pretty sure he's also a migrant. So in the conversation of things, America is made of migrants, and we migrants do take July 4th serious. I'm actually looking forward to the 250 next year. The whole neighborhood is actually going to shut down. We're going to have a whole block party for 12 hours. Yes, we have a 25-minute fireworks preparation for next year. So yes, I'm really excited for 4th.
All right, but if the past Stephen is showing the path of, there's some low-key celebration, hanging out with family and friends, spending some time reflecting, just sharing those beautiful memories. Stephen, what's your assessment, of how far America has come this almost 250 years?
Well, this country owes its existence to immigrants. Immigration has been the theme of this country from the very beginning. So I think that the fact is that we are now questioning that immigration, I think, is not healthy. Particularly of late, I think our medical establishment is dependent especially on African immigrants, very frankly. Nurses, doctors, you see more from Africa as well as Asia now. I think this country's future is dependent on immigration. And I think that's the important key to this country. And I think that the fact that part of the nation is rejecting that is of concern.
Of concern, yeah, really. And one may not be sure whether President Trump intends to back down on some of these policies he's really bent on enforcing as it were. If we may just quickly talk about the big, beautiful bill. Finally, the House has passed it after its initial passage in May. And it's, thankfully, 218 to 214. Somto, that bill has been passed. I'm wondering how you'd react to that.
I am actually very sad because, again, like I mentioned, there is a lot of safety nets that were impacted. Medicaid, SNAP. I used to work for the Commissioner of Agriculture here in the state of Texas. Food is a big thing here. Food insecurity is a big deal here. But in the state of Texas last year, we passed a bill which can allow people to grow their own food. So that combats food insecurity. But again, yes, this bill has some issues, but also it has some good segments. The good segment would be the no tax on tips, but it's capped. People are forgetting that particular segment of that bill is capped. The tax breaks part Again, Nikkei, you and I go way back. The one thing we learned when working with the rich do not have money. They do not let money go. So if you're giving tax breaks to the super and ultra wealthy, that money will never trickle down. We've learned a lot from the Reagan administration. Nothing ever trickles down. The way you improve the middle class is by giving the tax breaks to the poor and low income people. It increases their spending ability and therefore stimulates the economy. So let me give you a typical example. So me, for instance, right now, if I do not have as much money coming in as I would have had in the past year, that means I cannot redo my TV, my kitchen counter. That means I cannot redo my window blinds. I have to literally watch YouTube to do my toilet. So that leaves out the plumber, that leaves out the contractor, and that leaves out the window guy. Those are three people who I would have fed and their families if I had the spending ability. But a rich person can just quickly call their interior designer, and the interior designer pockets all that money. But remember, if I had done that, I would be able to stimulate the economy. So it's all about giving money to where it would be able to circulate.
All right.
This bill does not do that.
All right, so let's quickly hear from Stephen. Stephen, this bill does have a beautiful name to it. Talk about the big, beautiful bill. But how beautiful do you think its content are?
Well, I think that there's various parts that are very problematic. Certainly the tax cut is going to be seen as positive in this country. 80% of the people in this nation will have a tax cut, but the 60% of the benefits of that do go to the top 20% of the population. It doesn't trickle down, as rightly pointed. I think the other very problematic area is healthcare. Certainly, it's going to affect the poor. By everybody's admission, it's going to affect the poor most. And it's going to take 18 million people off health care. And that's going to be the poor. It's going to be the young. It's not welfare cheats. It's going to be those people who need it most, frankly, and are going to have a most difficult time getting it. In that regard, I think it's very punitive to the poor and to the lower working classes, and I think that's going to be a problem. But the tax cuts are going to be seen positive. They're going to be marketed very heavily between now and the next elections. I think of interest too is the defense spending has gone up and the subsidies to fossil fuels has increased. So the green energy is going to be more difficult to support and sustain versus fossil fuels. I think that's problematic.
All right. Well, talking about green energy, I think President Trump has been emphatic about that. He wants, the coal to keep working. It's just like his thing, really. But regardless of the holes we've picked in this document, the moment President Trump signs it into law today, then it's binding. What do you think can be done at this time? What could the Trump administration do to make life better for these poor people who seem to be disadvantaged by this bill? Stephen, please.
Well, I think that, very frankly, I don't think the Trump administration particularly cares about that particular segment of the population. One is that they don't vote. Two, as much. It's harder to vote when you're trying to think about your daily existence. And then secondly, they tend to vote Democratic. So it's not going to be an area that this Trump administration is particularly going to care about. They're going to support those who are more likely to support Republicans. So I don't think there's going to be an adjustment to that. This bill does also create a greater division of wealth, again, which I think is a major problem in this country, the growing division between rich and poor, as it is around the world. And I also think that it's going to, even by the conservative think tanks like the Cato Institute, it's going to add up to $6 trillion to our national debt over the next 10 years.
All right. And Sumto, very quickly, at this point, who or what would the savior be? How can we help, those who fall within this lower rung of the ladder to be able to really get going in these times?
I hate to echo what Stephen said. In the Democratic Party, we call them the least, the lost, and the forgotten, right? Those groups that tend to be in the peripherals of society. The problem with it is that they do not turn out to vote as much. The same thing can be repeated that happened in Florida when Jeb Bush overhauled Social Security and Medicaid. There was conversation, oh, the Medicaid voters will come out to vote. They did not. Now, what can be done is that there is a midterm coming up in 2026. Myself, of course, as well as the various other political action committees here in the state of Texas, we're working hard to ensure that those who are, of course, the least, the lost, and the forgotten are not left behind. In economics, there's something called there will be losers in the economy, but we have to protect those losers and quote-unquote losers. And we need to do that by actually coming out to vote and encouraging them, registering them to vote. That's literally the way forward. We have to make sure that everybody eligible to vote is registered. Unfortunately, there is not much that can be done right now. Mr. President Trump will sign the bill today, and I'm eating my words on national television. I did not believe it was going to happen, but it did happen, and
Yes,
I'm happy for the administration. And Nikki, thank you for pointing that out. But again, this bill is not the best for the poor, but we're going to come back up again. That's when we don't stay down, you know.
All right, some political analyst from KJ4, the partner Gainful Solutions, Stephen Hayes. Thank you very much for being a part of World Now.
Thank you.
You.
It's an honor as usual.